All right, patrons and members, here is our weekly crafting guide. Sorry I didn't get it done to you. I have actually been kind of gimped up all week with a neck injury because I slept on it wrong or something. So sitting in front of the computer hasn't been working too well. But we'll get through this hopefully in one take. First up, we'll talk about is the Moonshine Craft. 280 has been pretty easy to get. That's pretty much buy your components at whatever the market is. If you can save money, obviously do that. But 280 has been pretty steady on what you can get, especially if you have bigger stacks. Is it going to stay here? I don't know. I really don't. It's hard to say where we're going to go, if we're going to get another bump in this like we did last wipe. And we had this little top off, and then up she went. We might not. We might. It might be a whole new kind of deal. Remains to be seen. I don't want to try to predict because I don't know. So 280 has been my sell point. 285 some nights even. I did see it get to 300 one night. I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday last week. I think it was just kind of a fluke, just the weird way that the numbers fell in the flea, but it was there. Now for Intel Center, not much worth crafting, guys. It just sucks. It is what it is. Again, if you have VPXs, you can make a little bit of money. For me, I'm cycling flash drives and vertexes just to try to limit how much money I lose. You can get like 115,000 for vertexes, which limits how much you lose, but just to get that extra craft cycle, to get those extra few points, that's all you get really out of the Intel Center, though. As far as we've got for the laboratory, I don't know why this is at the top. This shouldn't be at the top. It's not the best craft. I guess it is right here, but the condition here is selling at 180,000, which you can do. I've seen these even push 200,000. 180 kind of seems to be the peak that we're hitting from time to time. Basically, what happens is these things run out. You know, people are selling partly burned up ones, which I hate that they do this. This is so cheesy when people do that shit. But 180, 190, 200 is definitely doable. When I'm buying them, I try to buy them like under 140. That's the ones I buy to use is kind of my goal. So just keep that in mind for those. But using your water filters, I pull them out. Like if you pull them out of your thing before they get used up, not only do you get the super water use out of them, but then you can use them here and get a little bit more bang for your buck. And then metal parts at 13,000, not just for here, but for anywhere else. That's kind of if I see them at 13,000, I buy up 5, 6, 7, 10 of them, whatever it is, and just store them till I use them. For ripstop, I have 5,000 plugged in here to start the conversation off because this is what you can get them from Fence. And I've seen them on there. I've seen like 50, 60 of them at a time, and then sometimes there's none on there. So it's always worth going and checking. I'll buy like 9 or 12 of them if you have the stash space and just burn through them. If you see them in big amounts like that on Fence. Otherwise, you're spending about 8K, maybe 9K on these, depending on your what you're getting your slickers at, which as you can see, it brings the profit per hour down quite a bit. But aiming for 19,000 on ripstop, these will continue to go up. You know, we're going to see this slow, steady trend upwards and upwards like we do every wipe. We've probably got another 2 months before these things get to be ridiculous, but still good money to be made. Something to start switching to for your other crafts versus like bleach or something else. Simply because of the ease of crafting, and they're just going to continue to get more and more valuable. That applies with the other fabrics once we get there too. Bleach, you can still make decent money with bleach. Even with it not hitting its crazy peaks over the weekend like it had in the past. You know, we were seeing, 17, 18K sometimes earlier in the wipe. 14 to 15K is about as much as you're going to get now. But with that, as long as you're getting your components cheap, look for alkali under 15, sodium under 20, and then soap at 10 or less. And then sell your bleach for 14. You're going to be making about 44K an hour if you want to sit on them. And you don't have to wait for the weekends anymore. It's pretty much leveled off now that this is pretty much the price. Save a huge jump in pricing. Now for soap. Again, I don't like this craft because of all the components. You got to have a bunch of sausage and alkalis and salts and all this other crap to sell soap at 11K a pop. It did spike. It did some really weird shit this weekend. I don't know why it's up this high. It is what it is. I guess if you were a soap, a believer, a soap, a diamond hands kind of person, you made a bunch of money this weekend, but that is what it is. Alkali at 15, like I said, salts at 8, basically 8K or less. You can get them a lot cheaper, sometimes like 6K. And then your sausages at 19K, or just take them out of raid, whichever you prefer. Now for Aramid, I put 24,000 here because the only way you're going to do this is with the barter on Ragman. The 3 masks, get your masks for 8K or less. and then sell your airmen for 19K. It's going to put you right about 28K an hour. These are with my skills. Again, that's 34 crafting and 31 hideout management. So that's where these are at. Cordura, easy craft, not as profitable, but again, really easy. You just buy your 4 slings from Ragman, sell your Cordura at 22K if you can. We have been seeing as low as 20K. So you're going to be lower, maybe 17, 18K an hour, upwards of 20, 22K an hour, depending on where you're at with that. Now, shampoo, I only want to mention this in passing because if you do get non-found and raid beers, this is actually a really good craft to do it with, as well as shampoo. As the green stems get more and more expensive, we will see shampoos continue to push like 25, 30K, and this will be worth looking at. It'll be the primary driver behind the beer, besides the barter for the fuel cans. And then Scav Vest is back down here. And then for long craft, you have your grenade case. Just 15K on your nuts and bolts. Use up your metal fuel. Metal parts at 13K, and you have yourself 145,000 in profit at the end of the next day when you're done. Now on the med station, again, I have the mule craft up here. 160 we hit. I did sell. I think I sold 165. I was kind of testing it. Yes, it did 190, 180, 190. But the big reason this happened was because there was a ton of mules that just expired. I was watching them. They had long timers. So you had this huge jump from 150 to 190. I don't think all that many sold up here. A few might have, but we watched it come down pretty quick. And we're back down in kind of the 130K range. But you do hit 160 every day, just about. If you catch it right, I sold a stack of like 8 or 9, and those all sold. Propitols, get your golden stars at 55. Your ibuprofen's at 31. Meds, 12K is my buy point right now. You can be a little bit higher. Even 13 is going to be okay for most of this. 12K is my big buy point. I'll buy like, if I see somebody list some for like 12,000, and they've got 50 of them, I'll buy all 50 of them and I'll get 45 or whatever. But it's definitely worth it in the long run. Propital spiked up. I don't know if they're going to maintain this over the weekend. We did see 24, 25K pretty regularly. I don't know if they're going to hold this, if this is just a weekend thing or not. We'll just have to watch and see tomorrow. If they do pop back down to like 20K, it does impact how much they make, cuts it in half essentially, but they're still a decent craft even if they're down at like 20K. Grizzlies have come back now officially. They're selling for like 45K pretty regularly. You could even get a bunch of them you can get them. You were even able to sell them for a bunch more last night. I didn't catch that. I just saw it. I used up LU splints when I get them off of players, or use them myself occasionally, or sometimes get lucky and get them off a fence, craft them and just sell them. Make you 25, 30K an hour, depending on how good you do there. Pile of meds, 15K has been a pretty steady number to sell these at. You've been able to get more. I did sell, 10 of them for like 17,000 one night. But 15K seems to be a pretty good target point. If you can get more, awesome. But with that and all the other prices that you're paying, you're looking about 25K an hour on your pile of meds. SJ6s, selling for like 64K, 65K. It's doable. Try to get your NACLs for under 18,000. That's a little bit harder, but it's definitely there. Vitamins, 17K is pretty normal. And then your SJ1s, if they're non-found in raid, obviously they're a little cheaper than that, but 35K or less, which isn't too hard to do. They kind of go up and down depending on where they're at, but you can definitely get them that a little bit cheaper to get that much more out of your SJ6s. And then AFAX, using up used IFAX. I put 8,000 in here. You can get them a lot cheaper. I buy them off fence, or sometimes just come out of raid with them because I forgot to throw them on the ground or whatever, or I didn't min max. One thing I do want to bring up, I point out is the Ledex craft. Obviously, you got to be far enough down the Lightkeeper line to have the book, this SOIC book. What is it? The CUM book, the Silicone Optoelectrical Integrated Circuit textbook, and then microcontroller boards. These sell the therapist for 63,000, and they don't have a lot of use. The barter cost is really high on these, and the crafting cost is cheap if you can craft them. But if you get these out of raid and you can craft Ledexes and you're willing to sit for like a day on your craft, it is actually a pretty good thing to do. You'll make about 300 to 400K in profit off versus just selling these for 63K. So it's there. Wanted to point that out for those of you that have gotten that far. Basically, you have to do it's the task where you kill 15 players around woods, mountain. That's what basically unlocks this for you for that book. Or if you get lucky and get it on labs or something. The CMS kit, it's not great money, but it's an easy craft. 9K on your med tools, your CMS for about 30K. Sometimes you can do better, but they've been cheap last 3 or 4 days. So I didn't want to say too much on that. And then for your long craft, the defib, I shoot for 10K on wires and caps. Power capacitors again at 16K, magnets at 15. It's pretty straightforward. And then I shoot for 170, sometimes 175 on defibs, which you could even get like 190 if you get lucky sometimes. But 170 seems to be like that. Really good point. Excuse me, little goober in my throat there. I'm not feeling super good, but that is the med station. Aside from some of the other stuff that we don't really worry about. Nutrition unit, vodka 39K has been cake. Buy your waters from Therapist. Buy your moonshine, craft vodkas. Throw a big stack of them up. Make that 39K. Make a bunch of money. That's what I've been doing. I've been cycling these with either slickers, sometimes coffees. I'm going to start doing whiskeys now, I think, simply because they're the cycling and just having the two components that you can sell are pretty good. For whiskey, you want to shoot for like 22 on your vodka. If you can get it even cheaper, awesome. And then same kind of deal. You want to have a stack of these. You don't want to sell them one at a time. You want to sell them in bigger stacks, and you can get a lot more. There's 65, 70K, and you're obviously 55 seems to be a pretty good ceiling most of the time. And if you're selling for 55K, you're making decent money. So that's there. Now for coffee, get your Dr. Lupos for 33K, your kite for under 12, which that applies to everything. Buying kites at 12,000, and then sell your coffees for 30K, which about once a night, sometimes more than once a day, but once a night at least. They'll hit that easy and you'll sell and make decent money with the coffees and a little bit shorter of a craft. Used waters, making emergency water rations isn't too bad. So for example, if you got like a 1 out of 60 water, you're not crafting your other stuff, you can turn these in and make a decent money at 23K. Just keep that in mind that craft is there. And aside from that, it's kind of pinching pennies, the rest of it. You can do slickers. This pays off if you're going to turn them into scav vests and then turn those into fabric, which is what I do. Outside of that, they're not really all that great of money. The long craft, hot rods. Yes, you can make more than this, usually on the weekends if you want to sit on your hot rods. You can push this a lot higher. I've been selling about 13.5 to 14.5 each day, each morning when I get up. But it's a good overnight craft. It just runs all night. Get you those points. Get you some flea market rating in the morning, and that's pretty much it. Water collector, run it. Right now you're making anywhere from 20 to 30K an hour, depending on where you get your water filters, obviously. And then the workbench. Red gunpowder is still the number one craft. Get your kites at 12. Eagles at 27 or less, which this has been not too hard. This has actually been pretty easy. 27 was high, but I wanted to leave it there because we were kind of seeing it this weekend. I bought a whole bunch of these down at like 24.20. Somebody even listed 10 for like 19K or something, which is less than you can sell them to the trader for. But I bought a bunch of the greens and we'll make decent money doing that. Because like, let's say I average 22K on my buys here. We'll go 23K. It's going to, whoopsies, 23K. You can see it has a pretty big impact on how much you're going to make if you're getting these things cheaper. Matches at 13K. It's been kind of a hard floor. They haven't got a lot cheaper, sometimes like 12, but I haven't seen them down like that 10K range for a while. If you have, you've been lucky. 27 seems to be the ceiling for reds, though. I haven't been able to get them much more than that, and there's always a bunch listed at like 27,250, 26,950, whatever. So 27,000 seems to be where is a good place to sell now. And you're going to make decent money doing that. Other than that, Vogs, pretty much the same as last weekend. 11K on your fuses, and then 22K on your Vogue 17s. And that's you about 43K an hour. It's a little bit longer of a craft, but if you're one of those people that doesn't want to constantly cycle, this is a pretty good one to make decent cash. I'm still doing DVDs, even though they're not as profitable. I've been having a hard time getting them down as low as 13. I've been spending 14 and 15 on them, but I still do it because it's a fast craft. And I like to cycle right now to level up my crafting as long as I'm making money. Same thing with the round pliers. I haven't been able to get yellow pliers under 13K for like a week now. It sucks. So maybe tomorrow they'll be cheap and I'll buy up a bunch of them. But it really hits how much you make. Only making about 20K an hour. But it's a fast craft again, so I'm able to cycle and do pretty good. Outside of that, you do have capacitors. PSUs have been getting more frequently cheaper, like even down into the 30K range, which is good. So if you're getting 35K, you can sell your caps at 18K. Just a big stack at the end of the night because they do spike. It does it at weird hours as people burn through them, but you will get 18K most nights for them if it's one of those things you want to list like that. Wires have just fallen off. You will still make money. It's still an easy craft, but you got to get your cords under 18K and sell your wires for 10. You're not going to get much more than that. You might. I haven't seen it super consistent, like 10.2, 10.3. The 11K right here, you can see maybe if you do that, great, you're doing awesome, but that's just that craft. Magnets aren't hardly worth looking at. If you get some hard drives, sure. It's not something I've been paying much attention to. The best overall profit is still the APM 366 AP at about 1800 around. You might be able to get a little bit more than that, but 18 seems to be about the ceiling right now. Again, with Found and Rate SP6. Second to that, point this one out. Again, you need to have this book and you have to have a GPSA. But one of those, if you find those in a raid, they're only worth like 75K, assuming you've already got your Intel Center upgraded. You can turn them into 4 microcontrol boards, and then you could sell those and still make decent money. You're still making 177,000, so that's kind of an overnight craft. Or now you can take those and turn those into LEDXs if you want. Entirely up to you. The next one is PPMO. 23K on your, oops, let's go back to 27. That overinflated it a little bit. Oh no, we got problems here. 27,000. 27,000 on your greens, 12 on your blues, buying your PS off of proper, selling your PPMO for like 1,900. Again, you might be able to get more than this. Some nights it runs out, some nights it doesn't. You'll make about 70 to 75K overnight with that craft if that's what you want to do. For me, my overnight crafts on the workbench, I'm crafting ammo I want, like M61 or PS12B or whatever, is what I have been doing. But that's it. That wraps it up. Hope this is helpful for you guys for the rest of the week. We'll kind of keep an eye on what happens. We're kind of in that transition period of the wipe right now where the crafts are not going to change a whole lot as far as what the best ones to do are. So I'll try to come up with a way, maybe what to buy prices at, stuff like that, since it won't be really updating you guys on what craft to do, but more on what to look for prices. So we'll keep an eye out on that here for the next probably month. That's probably where we're going to be. We're right in that middle period where crafts aren't going to change until we get a huge swing with fabrics or something. Just depends on how it goes. So thank you guys. Appreciate your support as always. Hopefully I can't stream like this. If tomorrow's like this, I won't be streaming. Hopefully another night's sleep and I'll be back to at least somewhat normal. So we'll see. But thank you guys anyways. We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, if not, we'll see you Tuesday. Have a good night. We'll see you later.